So I actually didn't see as many movies as the last 5 years. A combination of money, time, and just not wanting to waste some of my precious life on this earth watching a movie that I know in 5 minutes is going to be extremely mediocre. I actually don't have that many terrible movies from this year. Maybe I just got lucky. But I still have enough for this list, so here we go. We're counting down
the top 5 worst movies of 2023. Number 5.
Sorry guys, we're doing another tie.
Like that. Let's just eat it. Eat. Ugh.
And both of these films were made by AI. You cannot convince me otherwise.
They are both so lifeless, so cliche, and so boring that I just can't believe that humans made them. They feel like if you put every boy and his blank story and The War of the Worlds, the book and the Spielberg movie, in a computer and said, make films about them. The acting in both is terrible. The kids in Chupa are so wooden. No one in War of the Worlds acts like how you would expect them to react during a Martian invasion. They both are hard to tell when they take place. Chupa apparently is set in 1996, but I kept forgetting. I think War of the Worlds is set in the modern day, but they take little rowboats to escape, and one of them has a camera that looks like it's from 2004. They both stretch to reach an hour and a half running time and have very meh special effects.
Well, that's enough with similarities. How do they fail on their own?
Well, Chupa takes about 40 minutes for them to actually befriend the damn Chupacabra, and then about 20 minutes later, the bad guys come to take him away. In fact, there's so little of the Chupacabra and the kids that I felt no emotional connection. Hell, there's a scene where the main kid is attacked by a puma, and it's not Chupa that saves him. Their connection is so little of this movie. There is one sweet scene with them and a music box, and it manages a few feelings of sorrow when the thing is hurt, because it's a small creature in pain, and of course I'm gonna feel sorry for it. That's cheating. War of the Worlds The Attack is basically Skyline if they actually left the apartment. It's just scenes of running or hiding or talking, which, yeah, is unlike the other War of the Worlds adaptations. But these characters aren't interesting, the effects and action suck. It's set in England like the book, but it also takes scenes and designs straight out of the Spielberg movie. It has no identity of its own.
So, which was worse?
Well, Chupa is objectively the better movie. It has better cinematography, kind of looks like it had a budget, and attempts to have a plot. But at least War of the Worlds had a few more cool scenes with the aliens, and also I expected better from the son of Alfonso Cuarón. Like I said, they both feel like they were made in a computer, but they actually were made by humans. So please, Hollywood, pay your writers, directors, and actors more, because I would hate to see what an actual AI-generated movie is like.
That's 'cause I used to be young.
Number 4.
Fuck it, it's fine.
You like picking on small girls, do ya? You freak.
Yeah, I saw this. Alright, you know what? I saw a bunch of people say stuff like, how dare you take these beloved children's characters and make a gory horror movie? Do you have no shame, Mr. Waterfield? Think of the children. And I brushed all that bullshit off. Like, we've had plenty of horror films like this before. I mean, how many goddamn Killer Santa movies are out there? So no, I'm not putting it on here because it's a horror movie starring Winnie the Pooh. I'm putting it on here because it sucks.
Before I saw this, I thought the movie was supposed to be funny.
But not really. This is a super serious horror film where Winnie the Pooh and Piglet go on murder rampages. Okay, so is it any fun? No, it's boring and just unpleasant. Any parts that had any suspense weren't because I was scared, but because I was uncomfortable. It's mean for the sake of being mean. Example, one of the girls is the victim of a stalker who broke into her house and tried to undress her while she was sleeping. It never comes up again. It's a pointless character backstory thrown in there to make us feel uncomfortable. These characters are idiots, which again again, if the movie had more of a sense of humor, would be fine. But one of them literally sees Pooh right behind her in a picture, and when she looks back, she's just like, hey, fuck you, bro. And she's not even the dumbest character. I will credit that the cinematography is pretty good, especially for a movie with such a low budget. But that good cinematography seems to go away during every death scene, which are horribly shot. The deaths could have been fun, but they don't really match the characters. If they, say, covered one of them in honey and then dumped a bunch of bees on them as they are slowly stung to death, that would have justified using these IPs. Hell, the only two characters we see are Pooh and Piglet. So the whole movie is a wasted opportunity. Just having two generic serial killers in Pooh and Piglet costumes should not count as actually utilizing this brand.
And of course, well, we avoided it last year. Just like these films, this has one of the most abrupt endings I've ever seen.
Baby, I would die for you. See you tonight. It's a bad idea, right? See you tonight.
Number 3.
Fuck it, it's fine.
Hey, you guys remember The Wrong Missy, my worst movie of 2020? Well, turns out the director did another Happy Madison movie.
I didn't even know it was the same guy when I started watching it. I just saw it pop up on Netflix and thought, that could be okay. And as it went on, I thought, some of this seems familiar. And sure enough, it's by the same director as one of the worst movies of the last 5 years.
Although, to be fair, it isn't that bad.
Maybe it's because of different writers, but this didn't infuriate me nearly as much. If anything, it's mostly boring and forgettable. I'm honestly having a hard time remembering much from it. It does have a lot of the annoying shit from The Wrong Missy, just toned down. It has plenty of annoying characters, but not so annoying I wanted to rip my ears off, just not funny. It does play sexual harassment as men as a joke, but it's only a few times and at least no one gets raped in it. It's mean-spirited, but I cared so little I couldn't even get invested. Most of the characters are just assholes being assholes to each other. The only character I didn't hate was Adam Devine, and that's just because he's too pathetic to get mad at.
A Happy Madison movie with a pathetic main character? Oh, how original!
These characters are so stock and boring, but you can tell the actors are trying to give them some meat by overacting to the 10th degree. The movie has little structure. The first half focuses on one story about Devine trying to prove that his in-laws are criminals, and then they just completely change when the main bad guys kidnap his fiancée. It feels so long because it'll just go on weird tangents. Every joke goes on for too damn long. Most of them wouldn't even be funny regardless, but having them go on and on just made me groan. There are some parts I laughed, like when they're driving through a graveyard and hit a casket, or when he kicks a dog, because animal abuse is the best this movie can offer. And the climax is so rushed that after it happened, I thought there would be some kind of twist, but no, that's just how the movie ends. I'll say this though, great soundtrack.
I wasn't mad like I was with The Wrong Missy, I was just bored. And in some ways, that's even worse.
Number 2.
Fuck it, it's fine.
Other. And literally the only way you can have a happy world is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women. That seems to be the final outcome of this film. So just to point out here, the point of the film is that the matriarchy is amazing. Women are amazing at everything. We later learn they didn't have immunity. And the way that they get immunity is by learning to hate the men. That's the way.
Guys, fight the real enemy.
And you must also take over as the Balbano family boss.
Oh, this is insane. Where would I even begin? Shh, are we actually the mafia?
So I guess this is our yearly entry in the subgenre I've dubbed the bad feminist movie. But this film actually does something that makes it slightly better and worse than those other ones, and that's that this doesn't even have the goddamn ovaries to go all the way with it. Say what you will about Black Christmas 2019 or Good on Paper, they said we're going to make movies that make all men look like evil monsters to try and make TERFs and femcels feel better about themselves, and they made the best film to their Well, okay, they tried to make the best film to their abilities. This movie doesn't. It has sporadic moments of men being terrible, like her husband cheats on her and her boss talks over her, but they're very few and far in between. So mostly I hated this movie for writing and directing. The main character, Kristen, was mostly annoying and she is completely incompetent. The only reason she doesn't die is luck and pure ineptitude of the people trying to kill her. And then apparently, after a few months of training, makes her better than experts because screw it. We're a power fantasy for the world's most pathetic wine moms, who gives a shit? And Toni Collette, as hard as she tries, cannot make this character interesting or likable or funny. The tone switches between 90s sitcom and hard R gangster flick.
But what shocked me most was how badly made this movie is.
I'll be honest, the only other Catherine Hardwicke movie I've seen is the first Twilight. I've heard some of her other movies are pretty good, but this is inept. The action is awful, I can barely tell where anyone is in relation to each other, and I'm pretty sure the characters can't either as they keep missing what should be very easy targets. One of the deaths was staged so terribly that I thought, this seems very easily preventable. The music feels tacked on, and like I said, the tone is all over the place. And in the end, the message to all the women watching this movie seems very clear. If your husband cheats on you and your misogynist boss fires you, just join a crime ring. Come on, ladies, don't marry Tony Soprano when you can be Tony Soprano. Hashtag girlboss. So let's see. Annoying characters who are completely indestructible, starting out with our main character getting cheated on by their one-dimensionally evil partner, bad action, stupid comedy, and a moral that basically says to become a fucking murderer. I know we're still pretty early in the decade, but looks like we found the 2020s equivalent to Wanted and Mr. Right. Great. Number 1.
Fuck it, it's fine.
So over the past 4 years, the worst movies of the year have not only been bad, they have actually offended me.
From The Haunting of Sharon Tate using a real-life murder to make some schlocky horror movie, to The Wrong Missy glorifying and making fun of abusive relationship, to Good on Paper making men and women look like evil monsters, to What Is a Woman just straight up being a movie promoting transphobia.
So it was kinda nice to see a worst movie of the year that wasn't offensive, it was just plain bad.
Come over here.
Hey, are you hurt? Why are you on the ground?
No, I'm...
Hey.
Thank you for coming for me.
Most of you probably haven't heard of this movie because it was dumped on Netflix in late July, directed by the woman who did that Lost Husband movie a few years ago. I apparently saw that. Don't remember a thing about it. Anyway, I'll tell you right now, if you go watch this expecting a fantastic train wreck, you will be disappointed. In fact, I bet most of you would just come out thinking it was mediocre, much like the critics did. And I'm crazy for putting this at number 1 above movies like Mafia Mama and The Outlaws. And maybe I am, but this film gets that honor for a very special reason.
It straight up put me in a bad mood. A film called Happiness for Beginners put me in a bad mood.
I was fine before watching this, and I actually started it up with some positive expectations because the premise seemed fine. A film about a recently divorced woman who goes on a hike along the Appalachian Trail to feel better and make some new friends along the way. I'm not expecting anything groundbreaking, but this movie should ooze charm and likability. At the very worst, it would just be forgettably mediocre. But it has some of the most obnoxious characters I saw this year. The main character, Helen, is an idiot. She injures herself before the walk even starts. There's a fat gay guy who's as stereotypical as you expect, a gym bro douchebag, and the leader who is so mean to the point where I can't believe he hasn't gotten fired yet.
It feels like Happy Madison characters stuck in an indie drama. It's the worst of both worlds.
It has the forced sentimentality of a Happy Madison movie. We find out the main character is a dead brother over an hour in, and this seems very important info for how this character acts, so we probably should have learned about this earlier, and it will add more pointless drama just to pull at your heartstrings, like one of the characters was losing their eyesight, or was abandoned by their parents, and yet I still barely cared about any of them. By the end, they act like they've been on this amazing experience and gone through some spiritual journey, and I was like, how? You were all just mostly shitheads to each other, nearly died on several occasions. I'd be suing this damn hiking company into bankruptcy. It's pointless, pretentious, has a dull romance, and feels so long. And it just put me in a really downer mood. Like I said, I don't expect most to agree with me. For what it's worth, it looks nice, the acting is fine. I'm sure when I watch it again for the 15th anniversary special, yeah, spoilers, the 15th anniversary special will be covering all my worst movies of the year picks since I started, I'll probably be more lenient on it. But right now, I just hate it. And I wanted to like it.
And that's it. See y'all tomorrow for the best of the year. Bye.